Hey, good evening or afternoon, wherever you are in the world today. I hope everybody's having a blessed day. I wanted to shoot a or do another video because the Lord's really laid on my heart to deal with this issue one more time and to have whoever that person is who would see it or come across it. I would consider it a blessing for your knowledge and information because there's a lot of people who still are clueless, like sitting ducks, wondering what's going on. But I thank God for the information that I've not only received, but what the Lord has been showing me. As these things become more apparent and they begin to manifest themselves, uh, then it all adds up and makes sense. And I feel I have a responsibility, not only as a human being to other human beings, but uh, just to be a messenger or a watchman to sound the alarm and let you know what's going on. And so you can take it for what it is or not. But after I say what I say, I'm going to leave it be, and then I'm going to be done with y'all concerning this issue at least. And so, excuse me. But I want to talk to you about food shortages and rationing and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you some different articles, and not only that, I'm going to show you what at least one or two world leaders has been saying, including our own. And remember, I told you 2, 3 years ago that there was going to be shortages and rationing and all these different things. But remember, I told you this was all by design and it's all by plan. You have world leaders that get together at the G20, at Davos, and all these other different big meetings. And there's some others that you don't know about in the Bilderbergs. And they're discussing the plans for not only America, but for the world as far as a world agenda. And they'll use a lot of propaganda through music and movies on the direction that they're trying to go. So when something does actually come to light and happen, you could say, "Oh man, I've seen that in a movie. Didn't we see that in the movie Contagion, or some other movie, or Greenland, and or the movie Don't Look Up, or just different things, or certain video games, um, and they will put stuff in there which they're trying to paint a portrait of which direction these world leaders are trying to go, who are Luciferians and they worship the devil. Most of you don't understand that because uh, there is a matrix in a sense. There is a red pill and a blue pill. And a lot of people who have the blue pill, and I'm speaking figuratively, don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. And a lot of people don't realize that there's more than meets the eye. So I just want to share with you guys real quick how I was in the different Walmarts for weeks, and I'm looking for baby food for my 10-month-old. Now just turned 11 months 2 days ago, and I'm looking for certain formulas, and they're at none of the Walmarts. I looked in different cities and towns nearby. It's the same thing. They're purposely holding back these, and they're saying that we have food shortages for baby food, and they're saying there's rationing going on. And so I went to buy at least 7 containers because I didn't know when we was going to get another supply of this certain type of formula. And we went up there with 7 cans of formula, and then all of a sudden they said, "Oh, well, due to food shortages, you can only buy 5 per visit or 5 at a time." So what we had to do was buy 5 and do one transaction, then buy the other 2 in the next transaction, back to back. Standing there, checking out, and I'm like, wow, this thing is getting real because we already heard it was coming. We saw it's coming. We see prices on food going up. Yes, there's inflation is real. Um, the CEO, former CEO, before he stepped down, of Twitter, even said inflation is coming, and normally that's not like him to even touch on that. But the scripture says there will be, um, many hard times or perilous times. Perilous times shall come, and so, but he didn't say how those perilous times shall come. So, there are some things that will be natural causes, but then there will be a lot of things also on the other side that will be caused by the hands of evil men. And, there is a depopulation agenda, which is real, to kill off humanity because Satan wants to steal, kill, and to destroy. And so we're up here looking at, these different formulas, and we checked out. And so let me show you something now, because this has been like a month, still not being able to find the ones formulas that we need. Some are higher than others in certain areas, and then we look online, and they're actually the ones we're looking for. There you can order online, so it's like they're purposely holding back this formula. I'm gonna show you something real quick. So quick, it says baby formula shortages hit stores across U.S. with some rationing supplies. Now, this is 3 weeks later after we've still been wondering, okay, where's the baby formula? What's going on? Why isn't there? And this is the Guardian right here. This was just 2 days ago, somewhere in April. I don't know if it was the 12th, but you could just put the Guardian baby food shortages and you can read the article. And this right here, Dabu7, he said, Walgreens starts rationing baby formula at over 9,000 U.S. locations. 29% of top formula out of stock. Think about that. 29%. And if you look at these shelves, you're thinking, where in the world has all this formula gone? It didn't just disappear overnight. This is all by design. Why? Because they want to hurt the children. So you even look at how they want to give this little jab to these babies, and start giving it to them when we have our own built-in immune system, and they want to start issuing out these things to babies now. It's like they don't want to just leave the adults, give it to the adults. No, they want to come against the babies. Again, Satan comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And so it's the devil's plan to kill humanity, because humanity was made in the image of God, and so he knows he has no other opportunity to get into heaven and to redeem himself. So he's cursed and sentenced to eternal destruction forever. So that's why he's going out and about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And so that's why there is a real depopulation agenda. If you look at the Georgia Guidestones, if you look at the United Nations Council on Foreign Relations, and if you look at all their other policies, now they're going to put on a show in the front and act like they're so concerned, but this is a part of their doctrine. And so United Nations will always look innocent and like they are doing things for humanitarian rights on a show, but underneath the surface, if you look at their deep writings and you study the doctrine, this is what it's all about. And so I'll show you another article right here. It says, Russia's Putin declares an end to Western currencies, says world moving towards real reserves, including land, food, and gold. And, because of these sanctions that Biden has put on them, he's like, Putin's like, I had enough. And so what we're going to try to do is just go to the ruble, and that purchases on gas and oil and all that's going to be made by the ruble. So what they're going to want to do is, if they do make these certain moves, that's going to hurt the dollar even more, as if the dollar isn't already hurting. And it's only to, crush the petrodollar, devalue the currency, and there you go. So, China and Russia are pretty tight. So we can do sanctions on Russia, but it's not going to hurt them too bad because they got China in the back pocket. And the only one that's hurting is us. And so Biden's trying to say, oh, yeah, well, things are going to go up here because of the sanctions. But we was already hurting in general because Biden has killed all of our natural resources. And from the oil to killing the XL pipeline to shutting down the coals, which Obama did, and all natural resources. We were the top producer, and we had our own resources, was able to produce our own oil, gas, all of that stuff. But yet with this Paris Accord that Trump took us out of, thank God, Biden put us right back into it. And now we have to, it doesn't make sense to pay some other country millions of dollars, or we pay over $100 trillion in taxes over the next 20 to 30 years to just to buy resources. It says right here 570,000 chickens set to be destroyed in effort to contain bird flu. Nearly 17 million dead chickens. And let me read that again. Nearly 17 million dead chickens and turkeys and counting. America's bird flu pandemic reaches the catastrophic stage. Biden says to expect real food shortages due to Ukraine war. President Joe Biden said that the world will experience food shortages as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and production increases were a subject of discussion at a group of 7 meetings on Thursday. It's going to be real, Biden said at the news conference in Brussels. The price of the sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia, it's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries, our country as well. Ukraine and Russia are both major producers of wheat, which they are. And let me stop right there. They produce at least 30 to 35% of the world's wheat. Reading on. In particular, and Kiev's government has already warned that the country's planting and harvest have been severely disrupted by the war. Biden said that at the G7 summit in Brussels earlier that he and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau both discussed increasing their nation's agricultural production to try to make up for shortfalls. Biden said he also urging all nations, including those in Europe, to drop trade restrictions that could restrict exports of food. Soaring fertilizer prices ahead of planting season could lead to higher food prices shortages. And so, these different articles right here, that's newstarget.com. So now they're saying fertilizer can go up. No soup for you. Russia will only export food and fertilizer to friendly countries. So that's News Target as well. So I guess that means America's out of there then, huh? No soup for you. Food hyperinflation. This is DC Clothesline. Food hyperinflation. Countries or begin in Germany. Sorry. Food hyperinflation begins in Germany. Riots in Sri Lanka. Currency collapse and starvation coming worldwide. So and it's dealing about, all these things going on. All of these different countries. And it's not just America, because they want this to be a worldwide effort, collected effort, from Germany to Europe, as you heard. Even it mentioned Sri Lanka. But again, this is all by design. And one person, evil guy, said long time ago, he said that there is going to Henry Kissinger, and he said this right here. Henry Kissinger said this when he was younger, right there with the slick back wave hair with the white Jerry curl. Control oil and you control nations. Control food and you control the people. So see, they haven't been able to get everybody to calm down and control everybody. And these are just different articles. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you Biden here in just a second. They haven't got everybody to calm down. What happened is when they got harder with these bigger restrictions on coronavirus, You saw people start to riot and protest. I mean, protests from France to Germany, Russia. I mean, everywhere there was protests, and people were standing up. Australia, you had people that, I mean, some of the hardest restrictions. China was too scared, but they went out in the streets. But um, and they had some of the hardest restrictions also. But people in Spain, all over the world, European countries that you haven't even heard of or don't hear of as much, out in the streets because they're sick and tired and fed up. So when you don't get one plan to work, remember what Rahm Emanuel said, first chief of staff under Obama before he resigned, and then had two more after that. He said, never allow a good crisis to go to waste. So, that's just the thing. They don't want a good crisis to go to waste. And so, well, now coronavirus don't work, so then we're going to have another one. Oh, guess what? Now they're talking about the bird flus and killing off all these chickens. No, that's just another way of killing our food supply. Oh, and guess what? They said that there was going to have more viruses and stuff that was going to be worse than COVID-19. Oh, now what they're talking about is that this new bird flu, which has a name, H whatever, something, I need to get the name for you. Just look up bird flu. They're saying that it can affect humans now, and it can be really, really bad. You see, they just don't stop. These globalists and these Luciferians just don't stop. And all this stuff. Now remember, the top leaders of the world, they're going to have their supplies, they're going to have their shortages, and they're going to have their reserves. They're going to have everything stocked where they eat in their administration, all Senate, all Congress. They're going to be taken care of. But you look at these others out here, just average Joe. They don't care if your children suffer. They don't care if you suffer. Why? Because they're going to sit back and go along with the plan to allow humanity to suffer and to die, because it's now moving into that next stage. And so, yes, there is, revelation. There is a horse that comes to take peace from the earth, one for destruction, and there'll be famine and all these different things that's going to happen. Again, some natural cases, and then there's some other cases that are man-made and created. But Biden said this right here.
With regard to food shortage, yes, we did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well. And because both Russia and Ukraine have been the breadbasket of Europe in terms of wheat, for example, just to give one example. But we had a long discussion in the G7 with both the United States, which has a significant, the third largest producer of wheat in the world, as well as Canada, which is also a major producer. And we both talked about how we could increase and disseminate more rapidly food shortages. And in addition to that, we talked about urging all the European countries and everyone else to end trade restrictions on sending limitations on sending food abroad. And so we are in the process of working out with our European friends what it would take to help alleviate the concerns relative to food shortages.
So there you have it. Food shortages is what they're saying. No food shortages for them. Remember, food shortages for you. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Now they finally admitted it, but they're blaming it on Russia, and they're calling this Putin's shortage. These gas prices going up are not a result of Putin. They're a result of Biden and his failed policies from day one. The what we have going on with all of the ships and the containers sitting out there on the West Coast that won't even come in or are not allowed to come in is not a result of Putin. It's been happening before we even had this Russia situation. It's a result of Biden and his failed policies. These truckers protesting at one point, and then production was slowing down as far as getting certain products to different stores. Had nothing to do with Putin because he wasn't even in the picture then. It's a result of Biden forcing a jab upon people who did not want to take one because they did not feel comfortable. And thank God there's some companies out there who didn't force their truckers to do so. This is all the result of Biden and his failed policies. And this is, and again, there's a plan. Control the oil, and you control the nations. Control food, and you control the people. So look at oil, look at food. They want to have tracking devices on all cars due to a new bill that had passed by 2026. By 2030, they want to go all electric. But it's funny because they tell people, oh, everybody shouldn't charge at one time in California because it could hurt and shut down the grid. Well, that was your bright idea for thinking that electric was going to do better than just natural gas and emissions. And so you have a lot of, I wouldn't even call them idiots because a lot of them, they know what they're doing. They sold themselves, they sold their souls for a few dollars that will perish and corrupt with them and burn in hell with them unless they repent. That's where they're going, straight to hell. And it's sad that it has to be like this, but we are not to worry and fear, but be wise and to know of the times that we're living in. And we are living in the last days, but we don't have to fear. We can trust in the Lord and know that he will protect us. If he allows us to stay here and go through this until he's ready to call us up, then he just trust and know that he will protect us and he will take care of us. But that's not an excuse not to prepare, because in preparation, that is showing wisdom and exercising wisdom, just like Joseph did. It doesn't matter, and that's an example for us that when he saw a 7-year famine coming, they went out and gathered what? Wheat, barley, different things like that. They gathered it up, wheat, so that they could eat and all of the nation could be saved. So, and Joseph's household and his family's family. So when we see the signs coming and we say nothing, we do nothing, then you get what you deserve. So when you see the signs and the warnings and you're being told and you're being shown, you need to go take this to the Lord and prepare a little bit at a time. You don't have to max out your credit cards or nothing like that, but prepare. You see, if I could show you the shelves, just go to your local Walmart nearest you. You can look at the prices going up on food, and it's not going to change anytime soon, at least. So, be prayerful and allow God to give you his wisdom. Ask for it. And just remember the word. God's got our back. Yes, he does. But you have a part to do too. So think about your family. And think about all the long bread lines. Think about all of these different lines that people will be in at the food banks. And think about it when the food banks will say, well, we don't even have food either. And think about how people will act when their children are crying and their babies are starving. They don't care. They're going to make a run on the Capitol. So be blessed, guys. Talk to you later. Amen.